Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of council. For those watching on YouTube and Zoom, note that we are trialing, or I should say, starting to use some new technology. So there may be some hesitations and some jerky cameras occasionally, but we're going to figure it out and get it working. So with that caveat, council, we've got an agenda in front of us. I would like to propose that we move the item of correspondence up to a new 3.2 because we have the author wants to speak to it, and I will let him get on with his evening. Other than that, I have no other suggestions. Not seeing any. I entertain a motion to adopt and second it, and all in favor. Carried. So with that, Ms. Wise, you're up. See what the camera does with you. Press the mic.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
We can, yes.
I'm just going to share my screen as I have a brief presentation. Okay, we're ready? All right, well, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me today. My name is Annie Wise. I'm the Executive Director for Sunshine Coast Tourism. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm joining you on the traditional territory of the Sechelt Nation, and that as a destination that the Sunshine Coast includes the traditional territories of the Tla'amin, Klahoose, Hamalthco, Squamish, and Sechelt Nations. Thanks for the opportunity to present. I trust you received our year-to-date summary report. And I just wanted to share a couple of highlights with you that's sort of above and beyond what's in that report. And then of course, have some time for questions should you have any. Sunshine Coast Tourism is a nonprofit association, specifically what's known as a community destination marketing organization. And our mission is to build a strong and sustainable tourism economy in the region that's consistent with the values of our residents. We work to achieve that mission through three primary pillars. In summary, destination promotion, destination development and management, which sounds kind of like we're building roads, but we're not. It's really about the visitor experience and what's happening once that there's the marketing side, and then what happens once they get here. And then thirdly, by increasing awareness of the value of tourism among government, residents, and businesses in our region. We do represent the tourism industry and stakeholders from Howe Sound to Desolation Sound, and with collaborative support from all the local governments within. We manage the MRDT tax program on behalf of the region, a job that we took on with the express support of all local governments and a majority of the hotel owners. We're governed by a volunteer board of directors, and we are supported by a small staff team. We have three primary strategic documents that are guiding our work. We have a 5-year business plan, our 10-year Sunshine Coast Destination Development Strategy, and a regional visitor services strategy. These documents are publicly available on our website. But one of the key themes that I wanted to share from all three of those documents is the continued focus on what we call both seasonal and geographic dispersion of visitors to the region. So some people, when they hear tourism association, they must think that our whole job is just about getting more people here. And that's really not what it's about at all. Our work is about strategically managing growth and supporting visitation when we need it and where we need it. And so I think it's really important that all of you and of course the residents in our community know that we are an ally, we are listening, and we're residents ourselves who care deeply about where we live. And we believe that it's in our foundation and core mandate of who we are, but also that it's in the best interest of the tourism industry to manage tourism well. And when managed well, tourism's a really incredible vessel for all sorts of things that make communities great. It's an economic engine that supports job creation and generates commercial tax base that helps pay for important public services and take the tax burden off of residents. but it also reduces our reliance on heavier industries. And in fact, tourism creates a strong case for environmental conservation, for cultural protection and preservation. And tourism activity attracts businesses and amenities that make this a great place to live. So I wanted to share a couple of highlights with you that take a little bit of a deeper dive into our promotional campaigns and how we're evaluating the effectiveness of those campaigns and what the return of that is to our local community. So last winter, we launched our Time to Shine promotional campaign to encourage travelers to come to the Sunshine Coast during the winter and early spring. Our campaigns include a mix of print, TV, and digital advertising. Just show a few examples of some of our digital ads that we ran within the larger campaign. And so while I could spend a whole bunch of time with you sharing beautiful magazine spreads and gorgeous TV commercials, which we have lots of those and they're wonderful, I'm instead going to share how this campaign brought new dollars into our community. So in order to track the effectiveness of our campaigns, we actually now use cell phone mobility data to measure actual visitation to the Sunshine Coast that results from our digital campaigns. So this is what we call verified visits. So to clarify, verified visits only count individuals who are not residents of the Sunshine Coast, saw and clicked one of our digital ads, and then physically visited the Sunshine Coast within 90 days of doing so. We exclude workers, trips, day trips, and also we can't count those who either don't have location tracking turned on their phone, don't have a cell phone at all, and who maybe saw our campaign but didn't necessarily click on it and go to our website, or saw our campaign through non-digital outlets such as one of those TV commercials or magazine spreads. So we can safely assume there's more than this, but this is just a verifiable baseline that we have with some new technology. So that's kind of cool. So what does that mean for the region? So this campaign, it was a 3-month campaign and it resulted in 1,451 verified visits. And while that number alone might not mean much, what we do know is that about 1,400 trips means a minimum of $600,000 in new spending in our community that comes from outside. And then of course, there's a lot of economic output above and beyond that in terms of it recirculating within the community. So that one campaign, $600,000 in local visitor spending. And then we also look at that as a measure of effectiveness of our campaigns. And so when we looked at this result compared to how much we spent making that campaign happen, we find an 18-to-1 return on investment. So basically for every $1 we spent on marketing for this campaign, we returned $18 back to the community in the form of visitor spending. And we're very pleased to see these results and happy to see, especially that it's travelers visiting in the winter and off-peak periods when we know our local businesses need it most and when the community has capacity to welcome visitors. So another highlight I wanted to share with you from this year is our deepening commitment to engaging with residents. At the onset of the pandemic, facing worldwide travel bans, we had to pivot to focus our attention to the local community in a bigger way than we ever had before. And while supporting local businesses has always been a pillar of our strategy, the pandemic really helped us adopt a locals first approach and mindset. It's imperative to have residents' input on tourism and ensure the industry's future success. Locals are becoming increasingly engaged in how tourism happens in their community. And this is a worldwide trend, not just here. And just as travelers are also seeking more sustainable and inclusive options while they travel. And so we expanded this journey of ours of taking this locals approach and started really back at the beginning, which was by listening. We launched a resident survey and conducted multiple open listening sessions with residents in 2022. And what we heard was that residents were concerned about impacts to their lifestyles, such as overcrowding at areas that they like to recreate, traffic congestion, both locally and through things like BC ferries, concerns that maybe visitors were using too much water and other challenges that, different residents face. But we also heard that the residents weren't generally aware of how tourism positively impacted them and improved their quality of life, especially if they weren't employed in a frontline visitor-facing role. So that was the challenge before us. And we know that we have to continue to lean into our community shared values and improve our communications with the residents of the Sunshine Coast. We drastically improved our communications to visitors about what it means to be a responsible traveler when you visit. So actions such as conserving water, opting to visit in off-peak periods, respecting fire bans and wildlife, learning about Indigenous people, culture and protocols on the lands that they visit. We're also guiding the local tourism industry to follow our lead in that messaging to their guests as well, and implementing sustainability programs and policies. We signed the 2030 Sustainable Tourism Pledge to improve our organization's performance on all 4 pillars of sustainability, and took action to be evaluated on our performance. And I'm pleased to share that we achieved silver certification with Green Step Sustainable Tourism for both the Sechelt and Gibson's visitor centers. And finally, we're resolved in our commitment to transparency, to being available to the community, to having open dialogue and coming together. And so as the saying goes, we're making lemonade. And to that point, I'd like to share a quick recap video that we had this summer where we literally handed out lemonade to the community, among other things, in a program we call Share the Shine. And I'm hoping that this video will play and we'll all be able to hear it. Oh, sound. Hold on. But then it's just going to play off my computer. Hold on one sec. I can do this. Oh, and there it goes. Everyone's waiting on bated breath.
Well, I guess we'll, unless you want to narrate it and sing for us, Ms. Wise. Folks out there in the internet land, we're learning.
Annie talking about Annie, yeah. So we set up booths at a number of community events like Creek Days that you see there, the Show and Shine and Sechelt, some of those beautiful cars, and handed out 57 gallons of lemonade. And really just had amazing conversations with the residents and asked questions like how, what do they enjoy about tourism, either, here, do they have friends and family that come visit them here on the coast, or what do they enjoy when they go travel? We also had great conversations about what was happening with water and how we're asking the industry to conserve and really taking a very strong proactive approach in leading the industry there. And had lots of fun handouts and swag that all are about sharing the shine and sharing the love of Sunshine Coast. And I think the one thing that was a really common theme that we heard from everybody was just that we live in an incredible, beautiful place, and people are excited to share that with their friends, excited to share that with their family. They enjoy meeting people from all over the world. And so I do believe that there is a very clear path forward where we can really realize the benefits of tourism for the community in a way that improves quality of life. And that's really what the video is about. Look at that
Great timing.
So good.
You hit the mark. Well done. Thank you, Ms. Wise. Council, is a chance to ask a couple of questions, please, Councillor Shepherd.
Thanks very much for the silent video. I just have 2 questions about your experience dealing with residents. Obviously, tourism, really important part of the economy here. When you're talking to residents, what was their biggest misconception about tourism, or what they didn't know about it?
Yeah.
Can I just, before you do that, can you just stop sharing your
Oh,
screen?
yes, of course. Okay.
Supposed to.
Let's see, I have to think about that. Biggest misconception. I think, a lot of people had questions about us as an organization and what we were doing to inform visitors of local concerns such as water regulations, fire bans, things like that. I had one gentleman march over to me and said, "You need to tell people that there's a fire ban." I'm like, "We are, and here's some of the ways that we are doing it." But it was great because that face-to-face just allows for so much more depth and relationship than what so often happens on social media, or people just read one thing and they don't know. So the in-person conversations were really, really valuable.
Councillor Inkster, please.
Thanks.
Oh, there, look at that.
Yeah, I bet you some locals were ignoring the fire ban though too, right? Beach fires that we heard complaints about. The approach of tourism organizations over the last 30 years has become more sophisticated. You probably may know that already, but I've just noticed a sophistication. So my questions as you come to us, and thanks for coming to us and presenting annually, is to ask questions. I'm glad to hear about the shoulder season because we're trying to get away from that BC ferries, which you know well about, Annie, from other work you do with me. And also too, the shoulder season is important, but I wanted to ask you if there is a focus and or a way to increase the average tourist spend.
That's a good question. Part of that is about the tourism products and services that are being offered. And so if, for example, you have primarily low to mid-range hotels, then you're going to get low to mid-range spending on your accommodations. But if you can introduce, higher end product and experiences, then that's going to be the primary driver. So that's a big part of it, is the types of product and services that are being offered. But of course, a big piece of that is, in my opinion, related to visitor services. So of course, we are the fee for service operator at your visitor information centers. And that's really the primary goal is, of course, we want to support people having a great time, but is really to encourage those visitors to come in the center to stay longer, which helps them spend more money and to do more activities and experiences while they're here. And so that's a big part of it too. So I would say continuing to support visitor services in your community is a huge way to continue to improve that.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, thanks for that. I'll keep asking that because it's going to be more and more sophisticated with that approach to get more spend. I also wanted to ask you if there was a sub-regional measurement that you can access or maybe occurring. I'll give you an example. Seashelt actually in the last couple of years added a hotel, a decent hotel, as many know. The color's better too. So that would increase the local numbers of overnight stays. I don't know. I can't remember how many rooms there are, but there's more than 50. I think at least, plus the side cabins, which are quite good. So I'm wondering if the visitor numbers that stay in Seashelt are, if you have a reflection or a number that indicates an increase. It's all about capturing the tourism within your area. And for Seashelt, that's important for our retailers. Thanks.
It is difficult for us to give exact numbers at a sub-regional level. We do subscribe to a program called AirDNA, which gives short-term rental data. And I believe I included in my report, and I don't, well, I'd have to flip to the page, but that data, and of course that's not including the hotels, but that data does show that the district of Seashelt, because you can parse it out sub-regionally, is down this year in terms of accommodation revenues. But of course, that might mean that it's shifted to hotel stays. What we know in terms of overall accommodation room revenues comes through the MRDT, which is for the entire region, and the Ministry of Finance doesn't share any sort of breakdown of that whatsoever. So we have to rely on some of those other sources. As far as for the year, we're about on par for the MRDT as we were last year. And so and at the beginning of, or the late spring, even down a little bit, and then it kind of popped up again. And so you know, it's hard to say, but I do think just knowing, you know, having conversations with local hotel operators and getting anecdotal reports that that some of the renovated properties are doing very well.
Great, thank you. Counselor Bell, I saw, and then Counselor McLaughlin. Okay, well, sorry, that's, so Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you through the chair. Thank you, Annie, for your presentation. I think we're all realizing every day that tourism is an important avenue for our local businesses to stay sustainable year round. They need that summer business. I was just wondering if you do any kind of gap analysis in terms of what you provide and the future. And also, I was just wondering if you review, or could you review some of our plans and strategies for, say, Seychelles, Gibson's, and the SCRD in terms of strategic plans, and for instance, our integrated community sustainability plan, because it would help to get information from you and some feedback in terms of writing regarding our policy to show how our policy can support tourism. Thank you.
Thank you. I will definitely try to, you know, keep up to date on all the strategic reports. We are a small team, and so sometimes it's hard to dive really deep into all the different local governments planning, but we do our best, and we'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Bell. Got to watch our time, folks, so
Yes,
keep your
very
questions
quickly,
short.
I
Thank
wanna
you.
Thank you so much through the chair to Annie. Thank you so much for this report. It's very, very detailed and very comprehensive, helpful, and great to see the challenges and the future plans. And really huge accolades to the work on the seasonal, because I know that was a real challenge, and those are impressive numbers. So well done on that. And I'm also very pleased to see the data system, which is going to be, as we move forward through some of the changes that we're looking at locally and provincially in terms of accommodation, short-term rentals. That data is going to be very helpful for us as we just continue to move forward through various change. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Counselor Bell.
Thank you. Just so I clarify one thing, your report in our document talked about a 25% increase in revenue, I think, from pre-COVID. Is that for this year, 2024? What's that measurement? I think it's on page 6 of our agenda pack.
So if we're looking at MRDT revenues, if we compare the data that we have this year to date for 2023, which is January through July only, revenues are up 75% from 2019, the same period. This year compared to last year, we're less than 1% different. And the year before, 2022 was up 42%. And 2022 was up, or sorry, 2021 was up 23% over 2019.
So that sounds like 25% increase on pre-COVID. You're already headed out of the park.
Yes, yes. Oh, sorry, you were asking about the
The
goal
goals,
setting.
yes.
Yes, that, of course, our strategic plan was written in 2020. And so the idea that we would rebound in the way that we did was just completely unexpected at the time.
And celebrated.
Yes, absolutely.
Great, good. Thanks for the clarification, and thank you for this. And bigger and better next year, right? Very good.
Great. Thank you so much.
Terrific. Council, we'll move to item 11. So as we agreed, item 11.1, and we'll bring in Mr. William. There he is, Williams. So council, this goes, I believe, to page 60 and 61 of our agenda. And Alan,
Hello, can you hear me?
can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Ah, and you can probably see me now as well. Well, thank you so much for adjusting the schedule here for me. Appreciate that. My name is Alan Williams, and I'm here with some others on the call as well, Scott and Tanis. We're here to request support for a project to encourage the creation of all ages and abilities cycling infrastructure to connect our Sunshine Coast communities. This initiative is a joint project of TRAC and Connect the Coast. Connect the Coast is a purpose-built society for this initiative. And TRAC is a member-based volunteer organization that's been around on the Sunshine Coast for quite some time with a mission to support healthy communities and reduce our carbon footprint by promoting active transportation, sustainable transportation alternatives, including cycling, walking, and transit. As you know, there's no coast-wide plan for how we plan to connect our communities with active transportation routes. We think we should aim high for a plan that looks to create all ages and abilities connections that are safe, comfortable, and convenient for children and seniors, cyclists, and pedestrians. You know better than us why we need this, but we have 55,000 residents, 400,000 annual visitors, and well-designed infrastructure will keep our pedestrian, cyclists, and vehicle traffic safer. Safe paths create fair and inclusive transportation systems for all our residents. And using more active transportation reduce our demand on the already busy highway. So we commissioned a preliminary design that assessed the feasibility of routes that uses guidance from the BC Active Transportation Design Guide. This is a high-level study that was ranked segments by priority. And the top two priority segments are, excuse me, North Fletcher Road to Highland Road and Lower Gibsons, and from Bay Road and Davis Bay to Wharf Avenue and Seashelt. The next step in this initiative is for us to move forward with a feasibility and planning study for those priority segments. The first of which is North Fletcher and Highland Road to Lower Road. So we're planning on applying for grants, including the Green Municipal Fund and REDIP grants, and we're reaching out to you to seek letters of support for use in those grant applications. All right.
Very good.
That's the
Thank
intro.
you. Thank you. And just to be sure you can hear us, me, in this case.
Yes, yes, I can.
Thank you. Okay, council, just, I might grab it first, but just to clarify, so this, you're looking for a letter of support for the two that you've itemized in your letter? Is that the nature of the pitch?
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
that's
very good.
correct.
Thank you. And the other thing for council is, you know, I'm on the council of the Green Municipal Fund, but a proposal like this would not come to council, to the council level. So I don't have a conflict because I won't be making any decisions in this. So, okay, Councillor Inkster.
Of course, council knows where this originated, this request, but all I would say that if we support it, and I hope we do, that we get that letter written of support written and sent out ASAP because of the funding
Very good. Yep,
deadlines.
they need it
Thanks.
certainly before the end of October is the way I read it. Great. Any other questions, Councillor Toth?
Thank you. I'm actually happy to move that the District of Seashelt provides a letter of support to TRAC to support their grant application to GMF and REDIP for additional detailed feasibility studies as outlined in the letter.
Okay, see seconds all over the place. So, is there any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? And I realize again for the audience, I guess. And nobody can hear me. Okay, so the chair will recognize that's a unanimous vote. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Carried. Thank you, Mr. William. Have a pleasant evening. Or
Yeah,
drop
and thank you to all of you.
Very good, thanks. Okay, council, we can go to item 5.1. And this is, we get to bring in Mr. Anayus. see how we bring him in.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Oh, great.
I don't have anything more to add to my report other than I did have an opportunity to speak with the owner last week about the pending decision you have before you, and invited him to give me a timetable and a construct of when he intended to complete his permits. And he said he was going to forward that to me in an email, but as of yet, I have not received that from him. So I would continue with my my request for a decision on placing notice on title.
Okay, and if I might, just to be sure, then are you suggesting that should we agree with the recommendation, would you be planning to give the owner a few days grace before you'd act on it, or?
The owner can complete his permit. The notice can be removed upon completion of his permit, whenever that should occur, sir.
Great, thank you. Thanks. Anything, council? Okay, motion, Councillor Rowe.
I want in on the microphones. Yeah, we've done our due diligence here. I'm happy to move recommendation 1 and 2.
Seconded. Seconded, I see. Any other discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? That motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nyhus. Nice lighting.
Thank you.
Council will go to 6.1, and this is before us for third reading in regards to 5981 Shoal Way. And we, in the amended agenda, have the staff report. So, how would you like to proceed, folks? Okay, I'll entertain a question, I guess, Councilor McLaughlin.
I would like to defer the application pending additional information. My concerns are, I don't believe the staff report really looks fairly at all the issues as much as I would like to see. In terms of, I believe the Seashell Nation had a full letter about their reasons for opposing this application. And also I sent a map to council to show the topography and the hazard areas. I think that needs a little more of a look at. It's hard to tell when you're just looking at basic reports, but you go there and look at the maps, you can see the topography issues and the closeness to Cook Creek, which I think the Seashell Nation highlighted as a major concern for them culturally as well. Also, I don't believe it really addresses or doesn't get into any detail in terms of our integrated community sustainability plan. Maybe the community planner could help with some detail on that. For instance, the environmental goals to protect drinking water, adapting to climate change, alternative sources of energy, and protect and restore natural spaces. I don't feel that's really addressed. Also, leadership in terms of working collaboratively with Seashell Nation. This is something really we've been focusing on in the last year. I would like to see a more hardcore approach to really supporting them and reviewing their concerns in detail and reflecting that in our planning reports. What else have I got here? Well, those are the main things. I have some issues too with the public hearing. We had Steve Dutton come to us as a representative, former owner of the property, also commenting about how we plan to possibly develop an adjacent lot as a resort development, which caught me as a surprise. And not a public hearing is not really some place where you want to find out about this sort of thing. So I would like to see that discussed in some detail and reviewed so that going forward. with this- with
That's
this
not, we're
application.
not here talking about that property, so. That the
Well,
public offered us some information.
He had
which
the
is-
property and he has the adjacent property. So
He
that's
has
why
the
it was there at
adjacent
public
property.
hearing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to me, that is, that's a major land use issue, especially with our water
But it-
concerns. And the water concern, of course, was highlighted in the Seashell Nation letter that they had as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Something, anybody? Councillor Inkster.
Just a procedural clarification. that a motion to defer without a seconder has no discussion, or a seconder has no discussion, so that's.
Yeah, I was waiting. Thank you for picking it up. I was gonna clarify whether you're using the word as a motion or as an English word in the sentence. So are you making a motion to table? So, no, this is, as Councillor Inkster said, this is procedural, so you're making a motion to defer? Purely procedural, I'm not debating it with you. No, I don't, no, it's your words at this point. I'm curious if you were making a motion to defer or to table. Understood. Right, understood. So that's, so that you're making a motion to defer pending more information. Okay. And as Councillor Inkster has pointed out, there's no discussion on that if we have a seconder. So do we have a second?
No, but.
No, sorry, no. Okay,
Yeah,
the motion dies on the table. So now, Councillor,
yeah,
you can
the-
speak
the-
to other items. No, it's not.
Is it not?
Correct. No.
Oh, okay, I thought okay, push the button. Procedurally, the difficulty with a deferment procedurally is there's no debate. There's no public debate of the points being made by the proposer. That's the problem with that motion procedurally. So I'm just going to leave it at that, and that's why I have difficulty supporting them.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I
Great.
think that we should have a debate of the rationale for
Well,
deferment.
and that's what
Yeah.
we can do now. So
Yeah.
if you've got some points on this, on the application and the report, welcome them now. That's for all of you, of course. Councillor Rowe.
I think we've talked about this project plenty and heard concerns and heard the positives that this development will bring to our community. And so I'm going to move recommendations 1 and 2 that we give third reading to the official community plan amendment bylaw number 492-31, 2022, 5981 Shoal Way, and that council give third reading to the zoning amendment bylaw number 580-02, 2022, 5981 Shoal Way.
Okay, that's a second. Thank you. Okay, we'll have discussion now on that, please. Councillor Bell. Yep, that's working.
Yeah,
You're
thank you.
good.
I will also, I'm certainly supporting this, but I just want to highlight that, you know, again, for me, this is really critical to the housing crisis we have right now. And we have the essential services in place. We have sewer, we have transit that's nearby, and we also have walkable access to the elementary school. So that's why I'm going to support this.
Okay, thank you. Anybody got anything else? Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you through the chair. Again, I just want to reiterate that my concerns were thinking about residents, the public interest, and first making sure we have adequate drinking water supply for residents. And I don't think a lot of residents are going to be wanting to conserve water year after year only for more excessive, what they perceive as excessive development happening. And there's a lot of frustration in the community, I believe, in my community for that. So that is my real concern. And I'm not convinced that we have sufficient water. I think John Nash in his first presentation to the SRD kind of shocked us by saying we may not have nearly even what we thought we had a few years ago in terms of his analysis and the availability of Chapman Lake, period. So again, I just have this cautionary approach, which I think it's better to be safe than sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shepherd.
Yes, I want to recognize in the public hearing, a lot of the comments that Councillor McLaughlin brought up, the residents were mentioning as well. Water, they're not opposed to residential development, but they're opposed to the density and they have concerns over the impact on roads and so forth. And I think through the previous two readings, we've dealt with a lot of those issues, but I do want to say we've heard their concerns. There's a fair number of people in the local area opposed to it, but we've really run here to try and do the best thing for the overall community. And I know that I certainly ran on trying to fix the water issue that Councillor McLaughlin's mentioning, as well as pursue housing, because we do have a critical, desperate problem here with workforce housing. So I'm in support of this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Anything else, folks? Councillor Inkster.
I think that the issues that were brought up by the neighborhood, although there was canvassing that went on in the neighborhood, I'm sure council is aware of that, and to bring to the surface some of the issues, the concerns that we were presented. I think it's our responsibility in a sense to meet a number of those concerns, and as a municipality to plan for those concerns. Traffic is a concern, but the planning for that area will mean that a lot of traffic will come down that road anyway, and we're already doing some work on the road, as I noticed. So that's good. The link road that's there, I hope, I wasn't clear from staff, and maybe the director of planning can confirm this to me, that that road will be upgraded, because that's a concern, and that's just one of my questions. And I hope, and that's really important to me, because that's a traffic concern. And we're doing work on trail.
So that's one question.
One
for staff.
question I have, sure.
Do you have a second one? Because then we'll turn it over to Mr. Holt to answer the link road. Do you have another one he can answer at the same time?
No, we can come back to me then, or whoever, thanks. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Hall, I see you have joined us in, can you comment on Link Road, please?
Sure. We haven't settled on any final details, but certainly as part of development permit and subdivision applications, we would be looking at what road improvements would be required for both Shoal Way and Link Street. And in terms of Link Street, I can see a strong rationale that making improvements to Link Street from the property all the way to Reef Road would be in scope for making requirements to upgrade that. The details of which we obviously haven't settled on, but it would definitely be a key part of the development moving forward to improve that road, as it would serve primary access for, in particular, the phase one of the development.
So I'd like to just probe a bit on that. So you're saying that would be part of the development permit or the building permit? What stage would that be decided on? What happens with it?
Through development permit and subdivision applications, we would be reviewing the details of what road improvements would be required. And
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Councillor Inkster, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, that's a really important piece. And as has been mentioned by other council members, the fact that an elementary school is about 300 to 400 meters away safely, it's closer than other families are traveling to schools in Sechelt. So that's a really key piece of this proposal with the density. I mentioned earlier that there was a petition that went around, and what I've heard from people in the neighborhood that spoke to the petitioners is that there's a housing crisis. That was the reply to some of the concerns regarding this densification. And that's one of my big reasons for, I'm hearing the issues, and I think that as a municipality, we have a role to try to work with the community to fix some of those. They're already in place, close elementary school. But when I see density, I think it's going to work. But the reason I'm speaking to this is when it gets over 50 units, that's when I have to do this a lot, because it's high density in a sense, but I think that it will help meet our housing crisis needs. And that's why I weigh in favor of supporting this plan. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor McLaughlin, please.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I was just wanting to comment in terms of the housing, the missing middle. I mean, I think in the village and with the amount of suites we have, actually basement suites, et cetera, we have the missing lower level. And I believe a lot of those have gone, unfortunately, to SDRs from what I see in my neighborhood. And so I think that's an important factor to get some of those units back into the hands of renters. I'm not convinced that these units will be affordable. And it's harder to find that, but you know, for people with regular jobs, can they afford to rent there, to buy there? What I don't want to happen is for us to be caught with a situation like we did in Davis Bay with the Havies development, where the nature of the development, the tenure and the use of the area was more of a resort type thing that came out of the blue. And so when I hear that this development is going to be next to the owner owning it, wanting a resort development, it concerns me very much. And so I would like to find some way to ensure, if this does go ahead, that the housing will be for residents to rent that somehow need it, instead of it being open. So maybe that's tying the rezoning and the OCP approval to development permit, so that it's everything that we should need from it, instead of just hoping that it doesn't turn out that way, because we know this place is popular, but we also want to control the quality and nature and the lifestyle for residents. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to just correct you. We haven't done anything with Havies. So do the state that Havies was dropped on us. Havies had been something that was proposed, that we've given it no approvals. So I don't think it's an appropriate categorization. Councillor Shepherd.
Just with respect, Councillor McLaughlin, I don't know how we can compare Havies, what they've proposed, to this development. Havies, I think, is mainly 3, 4, or 5 bedroom housing. And I agree, that's not a type of development that I think the town should be pursuing. I think that reflects an older vision of the community, whereas this is a newer vision in the community. So, you know, firstly, I don't see how we can compare them. My second point is, I don't know how as the town, we have any ability to mandate who is actually renting or buying in a new development. We have none. That's entirely up to the market. So I hope that local residents have a place here and can rent and live here, because I think it'll strengthen our community. But that's not within the municipal mandate. Thank you. Oh, sorry, to the chair. I'm sorry.
Well,
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Inkster.
we have control over use.
yeah.
So
Right.
that's within our mandate.
Mhm.
Residential, people will live there, use.
Mhm.
So I hope that's very clear within this
Yep.
entire document, and
Right. Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Something new, Councillor McLaughlin?
Thank you. Just to pick up on the use point, I think when we changed our SDR rules, it did kind of change the interpretation of how certain places would be used. And so, yes, I do think land use is critical for this. So that's the kind of thing we may have to look at our SDR or something, look at our land use, have a special land use, develop one that
Okay.
will protect us that way. Thank you.
Thank you. I see, Mr. Hall, you've got your hand up.
Thank you. I can just clarify that the RM1 zone that would be applied to this property doesn't allow short-term rental use. And that's the default in the RM1 zone that exists now in bylaw 580. So yeah, there's no short-term rental use that would be allowed in the RM1 zone.
Very good, thank you. Okay, I would like to just wrap it up by saying, we all know we need more water. So even for who we are right now, we need more water. So it's a case, we've got to solve it for people that are here today, and we got to solve it for the growth that we need. So with that, council, any final comments before I call the question on the recommendation?
we will see form and character coming up.
Yes, under the development permit and the subdivision plan, we'll see
Oh,
all kinds
okay.
of stuff.
Okay,
I
You-
suspect
know-
there'll be pictures and videos and all kinds of stuff.
yeah, and I'll have a lot to say. Thanks.
Very good. Okay, so this, the resolution before us is for the recommendation. And my screen just went there. Good. So it was moved by Councillor Rowe. So as read on page 21, all in favor? One opposed? Yes. Okay. Motion carries. That brings us then to page 31, which is the bylaw to amend the District of Sechelt Official Community Plan. This is bylaw number 492-31, 2022 5981 Shoal Way. For third reading. Yep. And seconded. Okay. We'll call the question. All in favor? And one opposed. The motion carries. We then go to the OCP plan amendment on page 33 of our package. Do I have a feeling I've got the wrong document open? We okay? We're all bylaw. This is bylaw number 580-02, 2022. Again, 5981 Shoal Way, as written on page 33 for third reading. Moved and seconded. All in favor? And one opposed. The motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, Mr. Hall, and the rest of the staff who doesn't get to appear on the big TV tonight. Council, we can move then to item 6.2, permissive property tax exemption before us for adoption. And are there any questions or clarifications, Councillor Toff?
No, actually, I'd like to move the recommendation on page 35 as presented.
Very good. Thank you. And seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we then, the heavy lifting of minutes, starting on page 44. Whoops. Thank you. And that is on, for the record, on page 37 of our agenda package. And this is the bylaw 620, the 2024 permissive property tax exemption bylaw. Moved, seconded. Yes, yes. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody, for keeping me in line. Okay, item 7.1, the minutes of our meeting of October 4th. Councillor McLaughlin,
Yeah, thank you to the chair. I just wanted to point, I think, an error
Okay.
on page 45. Item 5.2 sewer outfall remediation project award. It says I was opposed,
Mm.
but I'm not opposed to everything.
Mhm.
I was in support of that. So if you look at
Okay.
5 minutes and 35 seconds on YouTube, you'll see it there. Thank you.
very good. No, thank you. That's one of the new system. We're hoping that some of these things, it's hard to keep up with us sometimes, but thank you for pointing that out. I'll be entertaining a motion as amended. Are there any other errors, omissions, or corrections to these minutes? Okay,
Your worship, there were a couple of minor typographical errors noted earlier this week.
okay. How, do you want to identify them, or are they just clerical?
If there are additional amendments to this set of minutes, I would suggest that we put them all into one motion and
Mhm.
make the amendment all together.
Yeah, of course, yes. So you said there's some others. Do you want to itemize those, or how do you want to proceed?
We could certainly do that, or we could hear from the rest of council, and then I can restate the motion for council's consideration with all of them included.
Okay, all right. Councillor McLaughlin, do you have others? Corrections and
Yeah,
amendments?
thank you through the chair. I'm looking on page 55 for September 27, 2023
No,
minute.
sorry, just to stay on the first set of minutes, October
okay.
4th.
Oh, I thought you said for all the minutes.
No, all the changes for these minutes.
Okay,
And then we'll do all, hopefully not, but all
Right.
the changes for the next set of minutes. So I think anything else on the meeting of October 4th?
We don't go through typos.
Yeah.
One by one, by the
No.
way. We don't.
No. So that's what, so there were some, as our corporate officers pointing out. So is there anything you want to highlight?
So the motion would be that the minutes of October 4th be amended to correct typographical errors in section 10.1 in the mayor's report, as well as changing the vote which was misrecorded as opposed on item 5.2. Councillor McLaughlin was not opposed to that motion.
Great, thank you. Okay. Motion, thank you, seconded. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Carried. So now we'll go to the committee of the whole of September 27th. And Councilor McLaughlin, you had something you wanted to talk about in page, you said 55?
Yes, thank you through the chair. I was just wondering if item 5.2 mayor's report, Green Municipal Fund update. I wondered if that was more of a personal report or whether it was really council related. Because I don't believe going there to represent council per se. So I was just wondering about that, whether that's really appropriate for council minutes. Thank you.
I think it is, or I wouldn't have said it.
You went there because you're the mayor of Seashelt, I'm assuming. Right?
Well, no, I went
No?
there because I've been appointed to that, the Green Municipal Fund Council. But I was keeping council informed of some of the things that I'm doing with my time, as indeed, I think whether we reference, opening an event or, attending, another committee meeting, so.
Yeah, but who's on the council? It's elected officials, is
Yeah,
it not?
yeah.
Yeah, well,
Microphone.
yeah,
Yep.
elected officials are on that board.
Indeed,
So
Yep.
you went there as an elected official.
Yep.
If you weren't an elected official, you wouldn't be on the board and you wouldn't be reporting back to the council. So
yes, I agree with that, so, okay, Councillor Rowe.
I think this is splitting hairs a bit. I mean, Councillor Inkster talks about reffing the soccer game. I will always talk about hockey. I mean, we have lives outside of council and that is part of what we bring to this table. And oftentimes we do talk about things that aren't necessarily council business. So I don't have any concerns with this.
Are there other amendments or corrections? If not, a motion, yes. On that meeting? Right, just for the meeting of September 27th, the cow moved to adopt, seconded, all in favor? Opposed, one opposed, carried. Then we go to the item 7.3 on page 56. This is the meeting of Wednesday, October 11th. So. Anything? Yes, Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you through the chair. Well, I was noting in minutes when I bring up points that are, contrary to what the decision is, they're not normally discussed or detailed in any way, although I did say early on when I was on council that I think we should, but the fact is you say our procedures don't allow us to do that. So that's one reason why I oppose some things, but I was just looking at the comment on page 57 of 62, when we talked about the strategic plan. I noticed there's a comment under recommendation 1. Also, it doesn't say what recommendation 1 is. I don't see it here in the minutes. I see recommendation 2 and 3. So I think recommendation 1 is missing, but anyway, at any rate, my point is that it says Councillor Shepherd volunteered to ask the Seashelt Community Association Forum staff to provide feedback from the community associations at a regular council meeting in December. I would like to have that stricken because I don't believe it was anything that was passed by council or supported as an action per se. So also I voted against the strategic plan for the reason that there was not community involvement, that was not noted. And so I don't feel this should be noted either. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought I read in here somewhere that reference that we hadn't done the other. the first bullet on that page, there were no plans for input from community associations. Okay. So.
I don't know what to say. I think the minutes reflect the discussion. I'm to the chair, I'm just trying to understand, Councilor McLaughlin's point. Sorry that, it should be stricken because, well, that's where I've lost. Okay, yeah. Okay, Councilor McLaughlin.
Yeah, I guess my point is we do not have comments on discussion that this one person said this or that person said that. So for instance, in the minutes, there's nothing saying that Councillor McLaughlin made these points on anything.
No,
So,
but this is different. I see this as different. This is, it happened to be Councillor Shepherd. It's an action item, which is, I think is
well,
quite helpful to have in the
an
minutes.
action item should be supported with a vote from council.
No,
not
I think
just
it's
generally.
not in this case.
Well, I make lots of action items and they're totally ignored. So I don't
Well, no,
agree with that.
if you offer to do something, then I think we'd put that in the minutes.
Well, I'm just wondering our procedures. I'm trying to follow them and be consistent. Thank you.
One of the benefits of modern day is that we don't actually need, we could probably go to minutes that are very Spartan and just highlight the resolutions because we have everything on YouTube in living glaring color. So I don't think it's something that I really have a strong view on. Let's just move on to other things and we'll see how things go with the e-scribe and the timestamps. And if people are concerned about something, they'll be able to quickly go to that point in the recording and listen to what was actually said. Okay. Any other errors, omissions, corrections for the minutes of October 11th, Committee of the Whole? Not, I think I got. Oh,
Sorry, real quick, Councillor McLaughlin did raise the point in that I suppose his recommendations probably should be renumbered, but that's all.
in other words, what is currently listed on page 57 as recommendation number 2, in fact, is recommendation 1. I think that probably, no. Turn to our corporate officer, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. For the purpose of the minutes, these are a committee of the whole minutes. So recommendation 1 is the adoption of the agenda. The next page is recommendation 2, which is the endorsement of the strategic plan and the shared water vision. That motion actually
you.
contains the 2 parts.
I see it too on page 56. We have recommendation 1. Yep. Okay, so we move adoption, seconded. All in favor? Opposed? One opposed? Motion carries. And that brings us to the end of the minutes. So we can turn to council reports and how about we start with Councillor Inkster?
Just a quick note. I was thinking of something happened last week. Yeah, the end. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other than committee of the whole, but this week, I think it was, what was that? But this week we had a good session talking about the airport and I'm sure other council members talk about it. And just a reminder through yourself to staff and or the consultants that we need to use the airport advisory committee. It was kind of, I don't know if you were there, but it wasn't apparent. So we need to utilize them and others that have interests in aviation and or development of sort of.
Which is a good segue. We can't get there quite yet, but to
Yeah.
the release from closed meeting appointment. So the Airport Development Select Committee. So
Yeah.
I think we'll see them getting active in the next few weeks. I know some people
And there's
are
other,
very eager to do so.
yeah, and there's other people that should be talked to, those that are in business development in the community because there's some land opportunities up there. So.
I agree with you. Thank you. Anything, any other, okay, so anything else you wanted to report on? Okay, we'll take that as, accept that offer of. Thank you. Counselor Shepherd.
Caught on the phone. October 6th, there was a funders meeting on Scredo. And it was great to finally have all of the funders in one room to agree on what's gone wrong, what we should do going forward. So I feel a lot of positive things will come out of that. We've talked about the airport meeting. Thank you. And October 17th, there was a SCAF meeting, regular monthly meeting, but they raised an issue that I'd like to ask the mayor to proceed with in terms of a meeting with SCAF where we can talk about the level of communication and improving it for both parties. Thank you.
Great. And yes, I think Councillor Rowe, you and I were able to attend the last meeting. We undertook to do a bit of work with them, and I think we're up for that. She said off camera and off microphone. The record shows she said, okay, thank you. Anything else, Councillor Shepherd? No, thanks. Councillor McLaughlin. You get a method to my madness here.
Yeah,
Please.
Thank you. Through the chair, I enjoyed the airport tour finally. Walked into kind of a planning session as it turned out. So that was great. Get both those things done. Look forward to some further information and reporting on that. Also attended Davis Bay Community Association meeting where the housing strategy update was presented. Again, with numbers of homelessness, which, you know, are understated, but rising. And so that was interesting to get an update on that and see the community's reaction and feedback to that. Also, I went to a Sunshine Coast Community Services meeting where there were numerous parents, caregivers talking about their needs, their issues, and maybe some long-term planning for how they can be accommodated in the future. Also, you know, it's all part of the housing thing, but of course, these are very, very needy people that have fairly good services lined up right now, but also need a lot more. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Councillor Bell. Could have
Yes,
messed things up by changing my
Yeah,
system.
you're really messing me up. As well, attended this Credo meeting with Councillor Shepherd and agree it was a tremendous meeting and an opportunity to look at where we're going. Attended the Seashell Arts Festival opening night on October 12th. Just want to give a shout out to a 20th year anniversary for the Seashell Arts Festival. So well done. Incredible performances. They're bringing music arts. We're really very fortunate to have such an incredible organization and team of volunteers. Speaking of amazing experiences, I did attend one of the performances. It's covering Joni. And there was an amazing artist there that did an incredible job of walking us through Joni Mitchell's history of songs. I might have rocked just a little bit, and I think I did know all of the songs, but I'm just saying it was tremendous. Went to the Seashell Airport with the team, and it was great. I haven't, to be honest, been there, and it was great to see what was happening out there, and look forward to looking at some future opportunities. And then I attended the community safety meeting with Councillor Rowe, and I just want to again give her a shout out to Councillor Rowe, because she's got a team of a large team putting this together and meeting. And there are a lot of, just want to say to people that there's a lot of people that are on that committee volunteering their time, tremendous experience and wisdom, and a lot of commitment to looking at how we can improve the safety in the Seashell. So I just want to give a shout out to them. Thank you for their time, and to Councillor Rowe for giving leadership to this. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Guess what, Councillor Rowe?
Okay, so we did have, first of all, I sat in on a meeting around actually homelessness planning in this community for the cold season coming up. So a couple updates if people aren't aware, the shelter is pretty much good to go with Rain City starting to move their work stuff and people back into the shelter. So there will be 35 beds and 15 beds in Gibson's that have been approved for cold weather sheltering. We haven't been confirmed by BC Housing, but it looks like there will be an additional cold weather beds at our shelter as well. So giving a total of 45 from November to April. That being said, the homeless count was announced last week. And we are up from 84 to 97. Now, this is a point in time count. So the people that work with this population will say this is generally 30% of actually what's out there. The things that stood out to me in this year's homeless count is that 24% of them are seniors. That's astounding to me, and that's up from below 10% in 2003. 44% of respondents identify as Indigenous as well. There's a lot, the way they're collecting the information for the point in time counts is actually very interesting, some of the data that they're collecting these days. So I encourage everybody to Google it and have a look at the graphic, and it'll help you have a better understanding of what's going on out there. So that happened. And then we did have a community safety meeting, as Councillor Bell recognized, and our Community Safety Watch is starting this week, our security patrols on a 3-month pilot project. I understand there'll be a press release out with regards to that. It's out this afternoon. So that's going to be very valuable in helping us capture some data and just seeing what those results might be. And particularly, we've heard a lot recently through various forums from businesses and the impact not only on their business, but on people's feelings of being safe when they're leaving their businesses or their homes for that matter. So we're moving in that direction. We've got a subcommittee on the committee itself that's working on some engagement and education sessions for the community. And I believe that they had their first meeting last week. There are some excellent notes that came out of that. They're meeting again next week. And they will be looking at starting with the Downtown Village Association with those residents and having some structured meetings, not necessarily an open town hall, but probably doing sessions of, say, up to 40 people and then repeating the sessions until the appetite is satiated for the information they're sharing. Other than that, I did the infant loss walk on October 14th, which is a walk they do every year to recognize pregnancy loss, stillborn births, etc. And that was very good. We usually go to Mission Point Park, but it was booked. So Hospice House received the group, and it was a good walk. And that's it.
Very good. Thank you. I'm leaving this microphone on because it focuses on the three of us for now. So fire away, Councillor Toth.
Doing it all anyways, because look, now you're out of the picture.
There,
I just
now I'm back. See? Isn't there a TV commercial like
Councillor
that?
Rowe and I attended a presentation on the supposed dangers of smart cities last week. Yeah, I'm going there. And how sustainable development is all a United Nations program to eliminate private vehicle ownership and raise the cost of everything. It was a interesting presentation, but the smart cities component talked about how, 5G is everywhere now, and the government's going to use sensors that just click into LED streetlights to spy on residents in some sort of surveillance state. But to the presenter's credit, he did tell folks to educate themselves, to politely ask what smart technologies municipalities might be using, and to remain respectful when talking to municipal staff and elected. So I did, he was respectful. People can have differences of opinions, as long as it's respectful, that's okay. I did find it a little ironic that a guy who was working in the oil industry is the one at the front of the room telling everyone that sustainability is a farce, and that there's no point in reducing our emissions. I circulated an email yesterday from the BC Social Procurement Initiative, which is a collective of communities looking to increase the ability, awareness, and education of being able to engage in social procurement. It's partially funded by membership dues from municipalities and partially funded by the province. They're currently asking for signatures from their members on a letter asking the province to fund an additional 3 to 5 years of the initiative. And they've asked for my signature because I'm apparently the District of Sechelt Council rep to their board or to their organization. I don't remember when this happened. I think it was sometime in 2021, but there we are. So yeah, Sechelt is one of about 40 organizations who are members of BCSPI, and it costs us less than $1,500 a year to participate. So unfortunately, I only got the clarification I needed yesterday afternoon. So I even missed the amended agenda publishing. But I'd like to move that the District of Sechelt sign on to the BCSPI letter requesting additional funding from the province.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a seconder and questions? Have you had a chance to? Yes.
I'd like to support council. I just know nothing about
Right.
what Councillor Toth is talking about. So
Yeah.
to say, oh, I'll support you and, and they take my brain for scientific research. I'm just trying to make sure I know what it's all about.
Okay, is there a time frame, Councillor Todd?
I know that they're looking to get this letter off to the province before the end of October. So there is a deadline.
But I mean,
For-
in
for
theory,
us.
it could, I don't know, could come back next week or still be within the time frame. In terms of Councillor Inkster's concerned.
Except that we have
Read
no
about
way
it.
to approve,
We have a
Signing
meeting
on to
after
that.
that.
because it would have to go to council
That's-
after
And
that.
that's November 1st.
I did circulate the email. Like I said, this is looking for continued provincial funding for the program. This isn't committing the municipalities to anything at this time, other than our
joining,
continued,
yeah.
our
Right, okay,
continued membership is appreciated. So I did circulate that email yesterday. It has some information in it. Yeah, I've missed their meetings the last couple of years because I wasn't aware that I was actually the appointee in the first place. So yeah, it was a lot of coming up to speed yesterday, but I felt that,
Are we in arrears? I'm
No,
sorry,
no, we're. an
somewhat
active
serious question.
participating member.
Mr. Douglas, please.
Thank you, your worship. We, a number of years ago, social procurement became a big thing in municipalities and a group of municipalities started this group where they're promoting social procurement within our purchasing policies. And they achieved, I think, I can't remember if the first go round was 3 or 5 years. I think it was a 3-year funding agreement with the province, as well as our fees, all the municipalities' fees who want to come in on this. And the idea is to build social procurement within our own purchasing policy, and that they share stories about, how social procurement is helping their communities when we meet and things like that. So, I've been the staff rep on some of these meetings, and although we don't go every month, we do participate and we get information that we can utilize within our purchasing policy.
Okay, thank you. Of course. Oops,
So based
sorry.
on the information presented, does the council member and the staff member recommend that we support this with a vote of?
I think.
in
I
favor?
wouldn't have
Counselor.
made the motion if I wasn't supportive of us signing this letter
Well,
to
you're
the
on,
province.
okay, but
Thanks.
you're on the committee, so I just wanted to make sure you're saying, and
Okay.
the staff member, Mr. Douglas is saying it's a good idea.
Anything, I saw hands earlier, Counselor Bell.
Really just to bottom line it, so they're just looking, you're just two things, looking for support from the province or continued support from the province. That's what our letter of support will say. That's the one. And the second one was that we
Pointing Counselor Top.
appoint Councillor Top. Yes, that was,
Right? No, no, okay.
I'm
This is
already-
why we're-
yeah.
yeah, just bottom line, it'd be.
Mhm.
The bottom line is that BCSPI,
Yeah.
the Social Procurement Initiative Group, already has the letter
Yeah.
to go to the province to request 3 to 5 years of
So
funding.
it's the province, yeah.
It-
Okay.
That's the letter.
Mhm.
They're asking for signatures
That's
and
it.
there's an empty spot for the district of Sechelt.
Okay,
That's it.
that's great. Thank you.
So that's the motion, is just the one.
Okay.
The letter.
The
All right.
signing on.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we clear about that? Somebody's microphones can be turned off, please.
Sorry.
Look at that. Okay, moved and seconded. Still on. Red is on. Yeah, there you go. And there is a green, but the green means it's not working. So, okay, we'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Great, and carry on.
Well,
Was that-
that was actually all I had. So I look forward to reporting out the next time BCSPI gets together.
Make him attend. Okay, I'll keep this fairly short. This has been a busy couple of weeks. I want to thank staff working on the trip that Mayor Wasnow, Powell River and I are leading with some of you joining us for different days. We've got a few meetings arranged, but more in the works. And as I started that sentence, thanks to staff for really pitching in to herd some Victoria cats. We had, I had unusual thing. I was contacted by the security. Forgive me to the gentleman, and he didn't want me to disclose the corporate entity, but he's a security manager for a national retail group. And I was put in touch with him by somebody who's suffered through some community safety issues. You know, we all see broken windows and we see abuse of staff and so on. And so we had a good discussion. I think what I took away from it is there's some long-term solutions of how you design, you know, barricades and fences and washrooms and everything. But really the real thing is it's something that is being suffered by every one of their outlets, and they're all across Canada and elsewhere. Want to thank Rotarians. Well, Sechelt Arts Festival, Councillor Bell has talked about it. It's always a great event. If you haven't been out, there's a number of other events yet to be held. We have such a great, passionate, creative group of people in this community, and to support them, Ross Powell is, I think, who you were talking about, Councillor Bell. He had 6 guitars going, and he had 2 people having to retune them because apparently Joni, every song has a different, I don't play guitar, but a different chord setup. So if you can imagine through the 2-hour session, they had to be retuned. And so anyways, very impressive. And enjoyed Thanksgiving. None of you mentioned Thanksgiving, but I'm still eating turkey. And had enjoyed that with family and friends. And Councillor Rose talked about the security pilot project. I think I'd just say, if you do find the security, please don't approach them. You know, they're a non-intervention group. Their role is to collect the data, as Councillor Rowe you've mentioned. And with that, we'll be able to really inform our first responders and others about what we do to make our community safer. So I think that's what and a shout out to a group of, it happened to be all ladies, yes, except me, who wanted to talk about the doctor shortage. We had quite a dynamic discussion, and they're following up with further ideas of how they think we can find more doctors. So, good on them. Yeah. Pitter patter, let's get at her. Again, off microphone. Okay, that's it for me. You'll hear lots from me next week, council, and probably others on Victoria. So we go to the SCRD reports. Why? Fill in your gaps. Okay, do that.
To endorse something for me? No,
Okay, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Just remember, I got a mute button, so.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
So I think I sent a couple of things around to council. One was on the living wage information. I hope people are reading those things I'm sending. I only get one or two comments sometimes, so I'm hoping people are reading. I'm not asking for comments. It's just I'm never sure if I don't get anything. So thank you, Councillor Bell, for noticing that there's certainly a issue with, and we all know it's housing that's causing a huge high living wage on the Sunshine Coast, mostly housing. Heard other people complain about groceries. And the water summit, change of date. That's also been talked about amongst council members, a change of date till the end of November.
I can't speak to that. I don't know if there's been a date set as yet.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still work in progress, but
Yeah,
So
I'm
there's
pretty,
a
yeah,
water
it's not,
summit coming up
I
in-
don't see a plan that would include next week. I don't think it's
Okay.
happening next week, Councilor. Yeah, yeah. So if people didn't know about that, there we go. And the transit issue that I sent information around as well on to see the increase in numbers up to pre-COVID levels. So hopefully continue to see an upward trend because we're adding more buses and more ways to pay. Keep pushing on people to use transit to get vehicles off the road. So those are really important things. This week we'll be talking about, it's tomorrow, about the hospital, some expenditures, some equipment needs, and the good thing is the expenditures for that will come from reserves. So obviously reserves means we've already been taxed for that, but it doesn't mean that they'll be looking for additional tax. And there'll be a continuous discussion of the regional districts' debt that they have and the funds that they have. We received the minutes, we can receive the minutes from the regional district on a number of these issues, so the council's informed. But if council would like me to forward the information on debt, I like that kind of stuff, money stuff, but if people would like me to forward that to council just by saying, yes, I will do that. And so that's tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you. I wanted Councillor Inkster to go first because that way I could fill in his gaps. I actually chaired a public hearing last night for the regional district. Had about a dozen people show up, including the rural directors. This was actually the first public hearing for the SCRD of the new term. Quite late out the gate. The Chapman Creek 911 tower is finally being replaced. It was originally a 2016 project. But there have been difficulties to actually get bidders on the work. The equipment is still functional, so it hasn't been an extremely high priority. The tower replacement is going to cost $483,000, which is up from $246,000 in 2016. Yeah, the extra costs are basically inflation, with a little bit for a taller tower than was originally envisioned. But good news on that is it is going to be funded out of existing 911 capital reserves. So again, there's no sort of taxation impact for that project. SCRD staff have asked for some snow and ice clearing equipment to be funded from reserves. I know that the organization has struggled in previous years to actually get a contractor who is qualified and who is insurable. So they're looking to bring that work in-house. I know there was some conversation about trying to share District of Sechelt and Town of Gibson's resources. But the problem is that when they need the snow and ice cleared, we do too. So, and we actually have roads to worry about as well. And there was a late item that delayed the start of our board meeting by about half an hour. I've circulated the information for council, but she shall have been advised by the province to apply for a provincial grant with a really quick turnaround time to fund the early work on the Lower Crown Reservoir, while waiting to hear back about that large grant application that has gone into the feds. So at this time, the grant application has already gone in, but letters of support from other local governments can still follow. The board did have some questions and concerns about some of the unknowns, operating costs, things like that, things we haven't seen yet, being fully transparent there. But felt that it would still be prudent to provide that letter of support if there was to be any success at getting the reservoir operational for 2024. The CAO did stress that if the grants are successful, it's pretty much going to completely upend the SCRD's work plans in the water services division in order to make capacity to work on this project with the nation. So it is going to be disruptive if we're successful, but we know that, not having water is disruptive now. So I'd like to make a motion that the District of Sechelt provide a letter of support for the Sechelt Nation application to the Disaster Risk Reduction Climate Adaptation Funding Stream of the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, which is the identical resolution that the SCRD passed. That's my motion. I sure can, and it was also included in the SCRD's wording of the motion was included in what I circulated yesterday. But that the District of Sechelt provide a letter of support for the Sechelt Nation application to the Disaster Risk Reduction Climate Adaptation Funding Stream of the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund.
Okay, so there's no dollar amounts in terms of the support.
Not in the recommendation that's being asked. I want to say it was a $5 million grant application, but I don't have that number immediately in front of me.
That's accurate. 5 million is accurate. Okay.
And
Please.
yeah, I was right the first time. Somebody note that Council Rowe said that. The work program that Councillor Toth was talking about is obviously if in fact this is approved and the work is done and we build additional capacity of water, which is sorely needed, that the work referenced is in order to treat that new water that most likely will come from those sources. So that's probably what part of the work change will be. Yeah.
Sorry, the 5 million will go towards treating
no.
the water?
No.
No.
I think we should support this, but I'm saying that the work changes that Councillor Toth was referring to means that staff has to set up obviously treatment capacity for the new water that comes in. That would be part of the work changes. But that's fine because we'd have to do that with any system. Thanks.
Okay. So. Okay, I think everybody knows I'm not in favor of this. It's not to do with I commend the Sechelt for their bringing this forward, but as I've conveyed to Lehewus, I think we need to see more. My concern is that we're going down a particular route and that may not be at this point. We asked for more data than we've received. We asked for more data for a $5,000 community investment grant, and I think we've seen for this. So I have concerns about the overall project. I think the SCRD has received reports that it isn't big enough. I read in the media that there are concerns about this location for contamination and environmental issues, and I'd like to know if those have been addressed in any way, shape, or form. So I don't oppose signaling that we are supportive of solutions. I'm just not sure that this is a solution that is going to work. So that's my 2 bits worth. Every penny you paid for it. Okay, anything else? Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that I'm supportive of any and all additional water sources, especially if the funding comes externally.
Thank you. The directors did recognize, like, we've got a lot of questions that are still unanswered. Hopefully this next water summit will actually get these answers. Applying for a second grant stream could leave the SCRD and the Seashell Nation specifically in a bit of a precarious situation if they're approved for this grant application and they start work, but they're not approved for the federal funding. I did raise that at the meeting. There is going to be costs that are incurred before go, no go on big expenditures happens. So there is still the opportunity, even if we do get some funding, but not all the funding, to stop work. This does not commit our community to 20, 30, or $100 million. That was needing clarification before I could support this at the regional district.
But am I correct to both of you that it will commit the SCRD staff to a lot of work?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Call the question. All in favor? Okay, carried. I abstained. Yep. What I did. Okay, yes.
Sorry, almost done. The mayor's asked that Councillor Inkster and I start supplying written SCRD reports to council. I did do them during the last term for part of my time on the board. But that seems to be sort of the only reference I can find to written SCRD reports in the last 10 years or so. I can't speak for Councillor Inkster, but it takes me about 2.5 to 3 hours to put one of those reports together. So if council wants written reports, totally willing to commit the time. But if council doesn't need them, I don't want to commit to the written reports. So I just, we do our best to communicate important issues to council as soon as we're made aware of them. So yeah, if council would like the SCRD report reps to start producing written reports for the council agenda, I'd like a motion to that effect, please. I don't know how Councilor Inkster feels about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been some behind the scenes discussion of providing reports. The information that we provide now is of a very timely manner that wouldn't include in its submission last week. We talked about the agenda tonight that's tomorrow, that's more timely, and anything that happened this week, because it's a 2-week cycle. So we would miss each of those weeks, and there may be information this council would want to know the day or the day or two of, as well as the fact that we could all start doing written reports if we want to move away from verbal. That's something to consider as well as part of this motion. But I think council enjoys the verbal reports because it's very timely. It's on top of the issue. So looking for direction, but I think it works as it
Okay,
stands.
thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor Bell.
I would agree that I think that's a tremendous amount of time it'll take you. I think the reports that you're giving now highlight the priorities as they relate to us, which I think is really important. That would be the only thing I'd want to know is to say the priorities and how they relate to us. And I think you're doing a good job of highlighting. So I don't support the written.
Anybody else? Councillor Rowe.
Just for myself, yeah, it's on. I actually usually put the meetings on my headphones at work, and I have no life. So if I'm not able to do that, I do try and watch it over the weekend. So that's just me. And I find the verbal reports pretty fulsome. Yeah, so I'm good with the way things are.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I think the verbal reports are fine. I noticed that some of the area directors have pretty extensive web pages and they report a lot of details. So if I want detail, I go there. And like you say, there's YouTube, so I think they're fine. Thank you.
Okay. The one piece I would contribute to this is some of the single biggest dollar amounts we spend in the community. And written reports convey that to the public in a concise form. What you did last term, Councillor Toth was very, I thought, very helpful to me as an outsider at that time. And that's the main thing. I don't worry as much about the short term, what's happened in the last few days, but I think it's a great service to the community and it lets us think about things. Challenge with our council reports tend to be more social and what have we done recently and stuff. If there's a substantive report, Councillor Rowe, you've written reports on community safety that come to us so we can read them. But guys, you got to recognize we're talking about some of the biggest projects that the coast is going to deal with, and it's coming through the SCRD. So I think we're doing a disservice to the public for not providing more detail. And as I say, I commend you for doing it last term, and I would like you to, certainly I asked for it, so you know that's where I'm coming from. I think it's very appropriate for us to do it. But I can read the room fairly well, so I'm not going to test it now. Work on you later.
And I don't think there's any hesitation on either of our parts to circulate things if it's prudent or timely or necessary. Director Inkster, Councillor Inkster, forward stuff around to council fairly regularly. We will be going
That doesn't go to
into,
public, sorry.
we will be going into budget at the regional district at the start of December. We can try and surface some of the big items as soon as we know what's coming. That's part of the problem too, is that if we produce a written report, it's on the things that have happened. For us to surface something in a meeting, tomorrow's meeting in a written report, the SCRD reports, agendas are published the same day that the district of Sechelt agendas are. So we just don't have the time, like there's no gap in order to generate a report for council agenda relating to what might be coming up the next week. So that's where we have to rely on the verbals. Thanks.
Yes, please.
I will, as I indicated earlier, provide financial information to this council. It's very important to me, so I find that it should be very important to this council as we are taxing our community at the and making those decisions at the regional district. So I will provide that information that I see fit. So will Councillor Toth, because we do talk about it. And I will historically let council know that the verbal reports that came to council in 2009 led to the Sechelt Council voting against the SCRD budget based on verbal reporting, not written. So just a reminder. Thanks.
Okay, anything else? Okay, we'll move on to item 11.2. We've got a recommendation. I always love this, to release from closed, but it's already written there. So I move that we don't release it. I do note, of course, that it should read that Captain Christine Moore and Robert Carey be appointed to the Sechelt Airport Development Select Committee. I seconded. All in favor of release? Motion carried. And the question we've all been waiting for, any emergency items?
No emergency items, your worship.
Yes, very much. Be careful out there. Okay, motion to adjourn. All in favor or adjourned?